Hello everyone. Welcome to game 11 of Learning Chess Classics. And today we are going to look at the game of the century. Playing with the black pieces, we have considered as one of the greatest of all times, Bobby Fischer. And with the white pieces, we have Donald Bryne. And this game is one of my favorite games, and I learned a lot through this game. And I hope that through this game, you are also able to learn a lot of chess lessons. So, without much delay, let's straight dive into this very fascinating and entertaining game. So the game starts with knight f3, knight f6, and after c4, Fischer goes for the moves g6, and after knight c3, there is bishop g7 and d4. So he has gone for the fianchetto structure, and in this opening can be translated to a Benoni, to King's Indian Defense, to Grunfeld, and there are a lot many options. And after castle and bishop f4, Black plays the move d5, ultimately converting it to a Grunfeld defense, and White goes for the move queen to b3. Now over here, he takes the pawn, and then Black plays the move c6. Well, generally this square is for the knight. The knight is likes to be placed on c6, but over here when you play knight c6, often white plays the move d5, coming with a tempo. So over here black plays the move c6, and generally the idea is that this knight will now develop this part like knight bd7, knight b6, and then there's often a fight, to control the d5 square. So e4 was played, knight bd7, rook d1, knight b6, and over here it was like like a safer option for white is to go queen b3. Like for example, in the game queen c5 was played, which is kind of a dangerous move, but easier option was just to go queen b3. And let's say if black plays a move like bishop e6, white can simply go queen c2, and over here white is having a slight advantage because he has the center, and this bishop on e6 is blocking black's e pawn, which is the central pawn over here. But however, in the game, the move that was played was queen c5, and this move is slightly dangerous. Over here, Fischer plays the move bishop g4, which is again a very logical move that he's developing his bishop, attacking the knight, and also this knight is one of the defenders of the d4 square. So the idea is to weaken this d4 pawn, because at some moment this bishop can open up. The d file is open, so the indirect idea is to attack on the d4 pawn, and also it's a good way to develop the bishop. Now over here the best response should have been bishop e2, but rather let's not deep dive into the theory, and let's understand what black played over here. In this position, black played the move bishop to g5. Now this is not the best move, and black is already winning over here. So over here, I would request you to put yourself in the shoes of the great Bobby Fischer. Put on your thinking hats, pause this video, and let's see if you can think like Bobby Fischer. If you were able to find the move knight to a4, then give yourselves a pat in the back, because this is a brilliant move that Bobby Fischer found in this position. Now, in the game, white did not decide to take the knight and played queen a3. But let us understand what happens if white takes the knight on a4. Well, over here, when you take the knight on a4, you lose control on the e4 pawn, because the knight on c3 was defending e4. So now black simply plays a move like knight takes e4. And over here, it is very important for, like let's say the white plays a move like queen to c2. Like no, he plays a passive move like queen c2. Well, over here you simply take on f3, which is a defender of the g5 square, and after this you are a pawn up. White structure is ruined. The king is in the center, and black is clearly winning. So the queen must defend the bishop on g5. So if you play a move like queen to c1 over here, well, over here there is again a very strong move queen to a5 check that black has over here. And if you play a move like knight c3, you are already lost because there is bishop f3, gf3, and knight g5. Again, you win the piece with an extra pawn, and this structure is ruined. Now, over here, if a move like, let's say, uh, bishop d2 is played, over here you simply take back the piece. You are a pawn up with a very nice position, and the white king over here is weakened. So, because of all these reasons, over here, white played the move queen to a3. Now, in this position, Fischer captured the knight on c3, bc3, and over here, I would again request you to pause the video because in this position, again, the defender of the e4 pawn has been captured. So, black can take on the e4 pawn, but when you take this pawn over here, white has bishop e7. So over here, I request you to pause the video and put your thinking hats on, and let's see if you can decide or play like Fischer did. Do you take on the e4 pawn or not? That is the question. So in this position, Bobby Fischer played the move knight takes e4, and that is why, guys, he is Bobby Fischer because he calculated all these lines when he played the move knight a4. Over here, bishop e7 was played. And here Bobby Fischer plays the very nice move, Queen b6, offering a poisoned exchange, and black is still better. Now, over here, if you play a move like Bishop f8, the rook was not taken. But why this is a poisoned exchange is because after Bishop f8, this comes with a tempo. Your queen is attacked, and if you play a move like Queen b3 over here, again there is a small little tactical shot over here. Black plays the move knight c3. Now you cannot take this knight because bishop b4 comes and it's a pin and you simply lose the game. So this is just better for black even though he's an exchange down because after let's say queen b6 and a b6 again this pawn is weakened. The double bishops are too strong. The white king is in the center and black is completely better. So in the game after queen b6, what happened was white did not go for the exchange, but he played the move bishop to c4. And after bishop c4, it is very important to know that over here, let's evaluate the position. The knight over here is super strong. The knight on e4, it's always ready to capture the c3 pawn. The bishop on g4 is again, he's always ready to take on the knight on f3, and the double pawn causing a weakness in the white king side, and the rook can always come on e8, in the same file as this. And in this position, Bobby Fischer plays again a brilliant move. He captured the pawn on c3 with the knight. Now, why is this a great move? Because let's say if you capture the rook on f8, well, over here, black simply recaptures this. Again, you cannot take this knight because of the threat of bishop b4. And in the next move, you're losing back the exchange. And black again is a pawn up. And with the double bishop advantage, black is completely better. And what happens if you take on the knight on c3? Well, again, there's a simple move, rook e8. This bishop is under attack, and there is no way you can save this bishop, and black is winning. If at all you try to save the bishop by playing the move queen to a3 back, well, over here, if you play a move like queen a3, then black can simply take on the knight on f3, and after a move like gf3, there's again this simple move bishop f6, and there is no way that you can save this bishop. And again, this position is completely winning for black because he is a pawn up. The white king is in the center. There's a double pawn structure. The pawn structure is horrible, and black is completely winning. So over here, white actually is in a situation where he cannot take on any of the pieces. So he comes up with an intermediate move, that is bishop to c5, attacking the queen. Now, if you play a calm little move like, let's say, queen c7, then you simply lose the piece, and now black is simply a piece down, and white is winning. So over here, what does you know what does black do? So in this position, Fischer played the move rook e8 check, and white continued with king f1. Also, it is important to note over here that another interesting move that black has over here is to play the move knight to b5. Well, after knight b5, you cannot take on the queen, because after black recaptures the queen on a3, both the bishops are hanging and black is winning. So knight b5 was also an interesting option that you know that Fischer had over here. And over here, it's interesting because like you cannot even take the knight on b5, because after queen takes b5, this queen is looking at this diagonal. White is unable to castle, and with some ideas like rook to e8 check, white is in for a very devastating attack. But in the game, Fischer found the best move over here, that is rook f e8 check, and after king f1. Over here, I want you to pause the video and try to come up with the move that Bobby Fischer played over here. This move is actually the entire essence of the game, and the reason why this game is considered as one of the game of the century, and why this is one of my favorite games. So I would request you to pause the video and try to come up with the mind-boggling move that Fischer plays over here. In this position, Bobby Fischer plays the absolutely brilliant move bishop to e6, sacrificing the queen. Now, in the game, bishop b6 was played, but let us look at some of the alternative lines. Now, for example, if white just simply takes on the knight on c3, over here, black has a very nice little move queen c5, making use of this pin over here. So you cannot take this, and well, that is the only move over here. And after this, black is completely winning because he's a pawn up. Let's say after a trade of bishops, black is a pawn up. This rook on h1 is undeveloped. The king is it's a weak piece in the, like, uncastled king. It's in the center, but more importantly, the rook is not developed. Black is a pawn up, and black is completely winning. So queen c3 is not an option. If you play a move like bishop d3, like if you move back again over here, the same idea, knight b5 comes, and black is again winning over here. You cannot take this, because if you take this again, there's simply knight a3, and black is just too much up on material, and white is won't be able to survive long in this game. Now, if you capture the bishop on e6, over here, there's a very nice little checkmate coming with queen b5 check and intermediate check. And if you go king g1, do you take on the bishop? Well, of course not. There is a smothered mate coming, and I'm sure you all must have seen it, with knight to e2 check, king f1, and then you go knight g3, and then you ultimately sacrifice the queen on f1 and give this beautiful checkmate, which is known as the smothered mate over here. So in this position, after bishop e6, the move that was played by white was bishop into b6, taking the queen, and now black gave this check over here, and king to g1 was played. Now, I have a small little question for you. Well, as of now, you just have a bishop for the queen. And if you play a move like a b6, white can simply take on your knight, because there is this pawn on d4 and the queen is guarded. So, what do we do over here? After a move like king g1, we will use the windmill idea to remove this pawn on d4, and we will come to the same position. So we have this knight e2 check, king f1 is the only move. Now we capture the d4 pawn, king goes back to g1, knight e2 check, and now, as you can see, we have come back to the same position, but without this pawn on d4. The bishop is guarding the knight on c. on c3, and after this move, Fischer plays the move a b6, attacking the queen. The queen cannot take the knight, and in the next move, you are threatening to take on the rook. Now, over here, the move queen to b4 was played, and he's putting some pressure on the bishop. So, if you play a move like knight d1, white is able to take on the bishop over here. So, what is the small intermezzo move that Fischer has over here? Well, it is the move rook a4. Now, the knight is guarding the rook is guarding the bishop, and in the next move, he's prepared to take the knight, the rook on d1. So, after queen b6, you have knight d1, and this position is completely winning for black because if you look at the material, like black has two bishops and the rook for the queen, and the rook on h1 is still yet to come into the action. The king over here is, you know, okay, like he's cornered, and after a few more moves like this, now we see that not only do we have the two bishops and the rook, but also black is three pawns up, and this is just completely winning. And over here, white played the move rook e1, and in this position, of course, it's going to be an easy win. So let us quickly go through the game, what happened. And again, with these two pawns, the pawns are just going to roll, and white is not going to survive a lot over here. And let us just look at the final moves of the game. It was a nice little finish with rook c2 checkmate. But what I want to highlight over here is the beautiful game that Bobby Fischer played over here. And why this game is known as the game of the century is because what I like the most about this game, that is what I will just quickly go back and I'll just recap this game. So it was actually in this position, first of all, where the move that Fischer played, knight a4, again, showing that he calculated all the lines, knowing very well that knight a4 and black is immediately winning, first of all. So with this move, knight to a4, Fischer showed some great calculation skills. And secondly, what I personally learned from this game and what I what I took away from this game is that, let's say in a position like this, over here, Fischer could have just simply played a move like knight b5, and over here, he could have he's still completely better over here. But what Fischer was, he used to keep calculating and finding the best moves over here. So again, over here, also he played the move bishop e6, and he is complicating stuff over here. He is giving up the queen, but with such precise calculation and such accuracy, Fischer like just completely outclassed his opponent. And with the extreme calculations in this game, I mean, this game is definitely one of my all-time favorite games. And of course, I'm a huge fan of Fischer. He's considered as one of the greatest of all times, and this game is just one of the best games that I've come across, and hence I decided to share this game today. And with that, we are coming to an end to this learning chess classics. And again, again this windmill technique and how with great accuracy he won this game. So with that, I will see you soon in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed the game. If you did enjoy this game, don't forget to like the stream, like the video, and subscribe to our channel. And I will see you soon with another episode of Learning Chess Classics. Until then, take care, guys.